Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Vaman Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Swāmī Mahārāja Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosvāmī Mahārāja ki jai. Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Maha Bhagavat Śrīla Goksharas Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Śrīla Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Śrīla Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga ki jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Shri Jeev Gopal Bhattadasha Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu ki jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namachay Śrīla Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kunda ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Śrī Jagannātha Ratha-yātrā Mahamahotsav ki jai. Śrī Jagannath Dev ki jai. Śrī Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Ju ki jai. Shri Harina Swaparshad Shri Gaura Hari ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Dandavat Pranams. So my plan today was to read Śrīmad Bhagavatam this morning and then read from this Jagannātha Ratha-yātrā book in the evening time. But then I just realized that I have a meeting today at my usual evening reading time. And so I'm just going to read today and then we'll continue Śrīmad Bhagavatam tomorrow. So, Jai Jagannāth. Dandavat Pranams, Rup Manjari Didi, and Zakargaraji, Indira Mataji, Raseshwari Mataji. Hari Bol, Jai Jagannāth. So, last night we read the cleaning of the Gundicha temple from this book. And today we'll read about Ratha-yātrā. The narration of Ratha-yātrā from chapter 7. Let's see, how long is it? Oh, not so long. A lot less than what we read last night. All right, let me share my screen. Alright, so this is Jagannātha Ratha-yātrā by my Śrīla Gurudev Nityala Pravishta Om Vishnupad Ashatarashatashmad Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Nārāyaṇa Gosvāmī Mahārāja. Maybe if there's time, well, let's see what time it is when I finish reading this. Because if there is time, maybe we can read the next chapter also. Oh no, the next chapter is super long. Okay. The narration of Ratha-yātrā. At the time of Ratha-yātrā, prior to Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's coming to Puri, only the king's servants and elephants would pull the carts of Śrī Jagannātha Dev, Śrī Baladev Prabhu, and Śrī Subhadra Devi. No special feeling for Lord Jagannath arose in the people because they did not perform kirtan or dance for him. But Śrīmad Mahaprabhu, out of causeless mercy, manifested his inner moods by performing kirtan and dancing with his associates. In this way, he filled Ratha-yātrā with bhakti ras, the blissful mellows of devotion. Hundreds of thousands of devotees from Bengal, Orissa, and other places in India came each year to taste this ras. Nowadays, about 1 million people come to take part in the Ratha-yātrā festival. In the morning, on the day of Ratha-yātrā, the descendants of the Daitas from Vishvavasu's village bring Śrī Jagannātha, Śrī Baladev, and Śrī Subhadra Devi from the mandir to seat them on their chariots. They wrap cloth and ropes around the three deities and struggle, despite their great strength, to lift them up and carry them onto the chariot. This is an arduous task. While carrying Śrī Jagannāth, the Daitas, absorbed in affection, throw abuses at him, as the gopis do. For instance, when they are unable to keep Śrī Jagannāth in the air and he lands on the ground, the Daitas say, "We don't know where you have taken birth or who your mother and father are. Some say that you are the son of Vasudeva, and some say that you are the son of Nanda. But who are you? Just tell us this." Abusing him in this way, sometimes carrying Jagannath with ease, and sometimes with great difficulty, it can take the Daitas 3, 4, or 6 hours to bring Śrī Jagannāth onto the chariot, and sometimes it even takes the entire day. On the four sides of all the three chariots, devotees perform non-stop kirtan, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Subhadra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, when Śrī Jagannath Dev, Śrī Baladev Prabhu, and Śrī Subhadra have ascended their newly constructed large chariots, the Ratha-yātrā begins. Śrī Baladev Prabhu's chariot leads the way, followed by Śrī Subhadra's chariot. And Śrī Jagannath's chariot is at the very end. Every year, before Śrī Jagannath Dev's Ratha-yātrā commences, the king of Orissa sweeps and cleans the road upon which the chariot will travel. This is a custom from ancient times. The king abandons his royal dress and dons the cloth of an ordinary man. He sprinkles sandalwood water before the chariot and sweeps the road with a golden-handled broom. Śrī Chaitanya Dev with his associates at Ratha-yātrā. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gathered all his devotees just as Lord Jagannath's chariot was ready to proceed to Gundicha Mandir, and with his own lotus hands, he decorated the devotees with flower garlands and sandalwood pulp. He then divided his close associates into 4 kirtan parties. He arranged for 6 singers to lead the kirtan in each party, accompanied by 2 mridanga players, and then gave them the order to begin chanting. In the first party, Śrī Nityananda Prabhu was the main dancer, and the second, Śrī Advaita Acharya. In the third, Śrī Haridas Thakur, and in the fourth, Śrī Vakeshwar Pandit danced in a most exquisite manner. All of them were extremely expert and had all the capacity to dance throughout the entire day and night. Śrī Sarup Damodar, Śrī Vas Pandit, Mukunda, and Govinda Ghosh were the main singers in the 4 respective groups. Which group would you want to be in? You can write in the comments. So the first party, the main dancer is Nityananda Prabhu, and the singer is Sarup Damodar Gosvāmī. The second, Advaita Acharya, is Advaita Acharya is the dancer, and Śrī Pandit is the main singer. And the third, Haridas Thakur, is the main dancer, and Mukunda is the singer. And in the fourth, Śrī Vakeshwar Pandit is the dancer, and Govinda Ghosh is the main singer. So which party would you want to be in? Śrīmad Mahaprabhu manifests his opulence during Ratha-yātrā. Śrīmad Mahaprabhu then created 3 more parties. The first was made up of Bengali householder devotees from the village of Kulinagram. The second consisted of devotees from Shantipur, and the third consisted of devotees from Srikhanda. The devotees in the first 4 groups sang and danced in front of Śrī Jagannātha Dev's chariot. The other 3 groups danced on each side of the chariot and behind it. In this way, the devotees in the 7 parties performed kirtan with thousands of devotees following each party. Then, Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself began to dance. Having manifested himself in 7 forms, he danced and sang in each party simultaneously. A continuous stream of tears flowed from his eyes,
and he danced with the same intense speed that Krishna used to dance in his Ras Leela. Although Śrīmad Mahaprabhu was present in all parties simultaneously, the devotees in each group saw that he was only with them, and they joyfully sang and danced. Sri Krishna also bestows the same joy on his associates in his pastimes. At Bandirvat, when Sri Krishna sat with his sakhas to take his meal, his many sakhas sat around him. Some sakhas sat in front of him, and some on both sides of him. Some sat behind him, and some sat near him, and some sat very far away. Yet each and every sakha perceives that he was personally feeding Sri Krishna, and that Sri Krishna was personally feeding him. Similarly, at the time of Rasa Leela, it appeared that it seems that hundreds of millions of Krishnas were dancing with hundreds of millions of gopis. And in between each pair of gopis was Sri Krishna, and between each two Sri Krishnas was one gopi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu now exhibited that astonishing spectacle in this Leela. Except for King Prataparudra, Kashi Mishra, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, everyone perceived Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be in their group exclusively. Only by Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's mercy did the king see Mahaprabhu dancing in all 7 parties. Beholding Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's divine majesty, his Aishwarya, and his mercy, a continuous stream of tears began to flow from the king's eyes. He fell down and rolled upon the ground, and then Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya lifted him up. The king asked, "What am I seeing? Is my vision faulty? Śrīmad Mahaprabhu is here, and he is also there, and there, and there. He is dancing in all 7 parties." Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to the king, "You are very fortunate. You have received Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, and that is why you are able to have darshan of such a pastime of opulence." As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced in front of Śrī Jagannātha, devotees formed 3 concentric circles around him in order to prevent the crowds from coming too near him. Śrīman Nityananda Prabhu directed the first circle. Devotees headed by Kashishwar and Govinda linked hands to form a second circle, and King Prataparudra and his personal assistants and soldiers came together to make the third circle. Prataparudra's general Hari Chandan was present there with the king. Along with his soldiers, he protected Mahārāja Prataparudra and the other 2 circles from the crowd who were eager to have darshan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing. Śrīmad Mahaprabhu danced, absorbed in Mahabhav, and Srivas Pandit, who is Sri Narad Rishi, was absorbed in watching him. He stood in front of King Prataparudra, thus obstructing the king's vision of Śrīmad Mahaprabhu. King Prataparudra raised himself up by putting his hands on Hari Chandan's shoulders. But Srivas Pandit was absorbed in getting darshan of Śrīmad Mahaprabhu, and his body moved from one side to the other, continuing to obstruct the king's view. Hari Chandan touched Srivas Pandit and said, The king wants to see, so please move to the side." But Srivas Pandit's absorption was such that he did not hear him. Hari Chandan then began to push Srivas Pandit around. Srivas Pandit became angry, and he slapped Hari Chandan, telling him to stand quietly. General Hari Chandan was tall, strong, and stout. He went to arrest Srivas Pandit right there and then, but King Prataparudra stopped him. "Remain calm," the king said. "These are Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. You are extremely fortunate to be slapped by such an elevated Vaishnava. Accept this as his mercy." Upon hearing this, the general became silent. When the chariot of Lord Śrī Jagannātha reached Balagundi, the midway point, it stopped. On the right was a forest of coconut trees, and on the left was a garden of flowers that was beautiful like Vrindavan. "Shestale bhog lage achaye niyam, koti bhog Jagannatha kore ashvadan, জগন্নাথের ছোট বড় যত ভক্তগণ নিজ নিজ উত্তম ভোগ করে সমর্পণ রাজা রাজমহিষী বৃন্দ পাত্র মিত্রগণ নীলাচলবাসী যত ছোট বড় জন নানা দেশের দেশী যত যাত্রিকা নানা দেশের দেশী যত যাত্রিকা জন নিজ নিজ ভোগ তাহা করে সমর্পণ আগে পাছে দুই পার্শ্বে উদ্যানের বনে যে যাহা পায় লাগায় নাহি কো নিয়মে. One second, just need to drink some water. That's from Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 13, 196 to 200. According to custom, when the Lord arrived at Balagundi, he was offered food. Jagannath relished millions of preparations here. All the devotees of Lord Jagannath, both big and small, offered their best food preparations in accordance with their moods. The king, queens, ministers, and friends, and all other prominent and not so prominent residents of Nilachal, as well as all the pilgrims from various places, offered their various food preparations. It became so crowded that it was impossible to come in front of Lord Śrī Jagannātha's chariot, and so everyone made their offerings wherever they stood, either in the garden or in the forest, or in front of the chariot, behind it, or on either side. There were no hard and fast rules. Lord Śrī Jagannath Dev accepted all the food preparations merely by his glance. Exhausted from having danced for so long, Śrīman Mahaprabhu went into the garden on the left and laid down under a tree. A cool, fragrant breeze gently blew over him. Remembering the pastimes of Vraj, prema swelled even more within him. The mercy bestowed upon King Prataparudra. On the advice of Sri Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, King Prataparudra went to Śrīman Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Acharya, Sri Rai Ramananda, and Sri Sarup Damodar, offered pranam and said, I am going to serve the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Please give me your blessings. He then removed his royal dress and ornaments and put on an ordinary dhoti. When he approached Śrīman Mahaprabhu, he took his lotus feet in his hands and gently and expertly began to massage them. While doing so, he sweetly sang Gopi Geet from Ras Panchadai, the 5 chapters on Ras Lila within Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Ajayati te dikam janmana vraja shayata indira shashvaratrahi daita drishyata dikshutavakas tvaidrita savas tam vichibhate. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:31-1. The gopi said, O dearly beloved, because of your birth in this land of Vraj, the entire area has become more glorious than Vaikuntha and other planets. It is for this reason that Lakshmi, the goddess of beauty and wealth, eternally decorates it with her presence. But, O Lord of our life, in this blissful land of Vraj, it is only your beloveds, we gopis, who, in separation from you, are deeply anguished. We maintain our lives solely for your sake. Continuously searching for you in all directions, we have become dejected. Therefore, please appear before us now. As King Prataparudra sang, overwhelmed with spiritual emotion, Śrīman Mahaprabhu's immersion in bhav increased, and his heart melted even more. As soon as he heard the verses sweetly uttered by the king, he asked, Oh, who is pouring this nectar in my ears? Go on singing, continue giving me this nectar. The king continued singing until he came to the following verse. Atava katamritam tapta jivanam kavibiredhitam kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Śrīmad Bhuvi Grinanti Jete Purita Jana. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:31-9. O Shri Krishna, ambrosial narrations about you are the life and soul of those tormented by separation from you. Realized persons or poets like Brahma, Shiva, and the four Kumaras sing of them. Discussions about you vanquish the distress of fructified, prarabdha, and unfructified, aparabdha sins. Simply hearing those narrations bestows auspiciousness, and they bestow the wealth of prema. The nectar of your narrations is expanded by those who glorify your pastimes. Therefore, that person who performs kirtan of your lila katha in this world is the most generous benefactor. As soon as Sriman Mahaprabhu heard this verse from the lips of the king, he could not check himself, and overwhelmed with prema, he embraced the king. "Who are you who are showing me such kindness?" he asked. King Prataparudra replied, "I am an insignificant servant of your servants." Sriman Mahaprabhu then said, "Tumi more dile bahu amula ratan, more kichu dite nahi dilo alingan." Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 14:11. You have given me many priceless gems, but I am just a penniless beggar. Because I have no wealth, I am unable to give you anything in return. I can only give you my embrace. This is my only wealth. Sriman Mahaprabhu clasped the king to his heart, and an incessant stream of tears flowed from their eyes. The deep bhav of Gopi Geet. All the verses of Gopi Geet have exceedingly beautiful and esoteric meanings. Each and every verse is connected with the next. Also, Rasik Vaishnavas explain the meaning of each verse in one or more ways. These verses reveal the heartfelt moods of intense separation from Krishna. Feeling this separation, the gopis, in great distress, pray, "O Krishna, please come to us and give us your darshan. Otherwise, we will die." In the first verse, the gopis say, "Janmana Vraja, you have taken birth in Vrindavan, in Gokul, and that is why Mahalakshmi sweeps the earth in Vrindavan and performs other services to make it beautiful. Indeed, Vraj is the topmost place of your sweet pastimes." The 9th verse begins with Tava Katamritam. There are many meanings for this verse, but here only 2 are given in brief. The first is the general meaning, and the second is a deeper meaning. The first meaning of the verse Tava Katamritam, which we just sang. The narration of your pastimes is like nectar for the living entities. If someone hears those pastimes, you personally enter his heart in the form of Hari Katha. Shrinvata Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Hyabadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 1:2-17. Whoever attentively hears these pastimes, these leelas, Shri Krishna personally enters that person's ears and heart, and like a dear intimate friend, he removes lust, anger, desires for material enjoyment, and all other anarthas that reside there. Having removed these obstacles to bhakti, he makes that heart clean and pure, and situates himself there for eternity. The living entities who have been averse to the Lord since time immemorial have fallen into the cycle of birth and death, and undergo extreme misery. But narrations of Shri Krishna's pastimes are like nectar for the jivas, who are scorched by the flames of this frightening misery. By faithfully hearing these leelas, the intense despair of the living entities is vanquished. Parikshit Maharaj was due to die after 7 days from the bite of a poisonous snake, and no one in this world was capable of saving him. For those 7 days, in preparation for death, he completely gave up eating, drinking, and sleeping, and remained on the bank of the Ganga, hearing Harikatha from Shukadeva Gosvāmī. Nivrittatarshar upagiyamanar bhavaushadachchotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajeta vina pashubhnat. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10.1.4. Glorification of Uttama Shloka Śrī Hari is performed in the Shrota Parampara. And the Shrota Parampara is a lineal descent of the message of Godhead, passed down from guru to disciple by means of oral reception. So glorification of Uttama Shloka Śrī Hari is performed in the Shrota Parampara. In other words, having heard such glorification, such sankirtan from the lips of Śrī Guru, a person again narrates it. Those glories of Śrī Hari are nicely extolled by liberated personalities who have no thirst for anything that is unrelated to Krishna. For the seekers of liberation, the mumukshus, this sankirtan is the infallible medicine for the disease of material existence. But for the devotees who have taste, ruchi, it is the medicinal tonic, the rasayan, for the heart and the ears. What intelligent person would stop hearing such glorification of the Lord? Only a butcher would do this, that is, one who is killing his own self. Srila Shukadeva Gosvāmī had no worldly desires at all. The Harikatha spoken by such a Rasik Tattvagya devotee, a devotee who is fully conversant with the principles of transcendental ras, is the infallible medicine for the disease of material existence. This is because such Harikatha removes all kinds of diseases that are subsequent results of the disease of material existence. Lust, anger, and desires for worldly enjoyment, which accompany the snakebite of the worldly threefold miseries, are also quickly removed. Tava katamritam tapta jivanam. The Harikatha coming from the lotus mouth of a realized Rasik devotee who thoroughly explains the sweet pastimes of Krishna pacifies the listener, and he receives new life. By regularly hearing such Harikatha, one becomes full of happiness, not only in this life, but in the next life as well. Such a human being gradually climbs the steps of bhakti and attains the abode of the Lord, where he is forever immersed in an ocean of ananda, transcendental bliss. Kavibir iditam. Great kavis, poets such as Sri Brahma, Sri Shukadeva Gosvāmī, Sri Valmiki, and Sri Krishna Dvaipayan Sri Vyasadeva, sing Sri Krishna Katha, narrations about Sri Krishna. Kalmasha apaham. By hearing and chanting Sri Krishna Katha, all kinds of sins and the results of past actions disappear very quickly. Shravana Mangalam. By ceaselessly hearing Sri Krishna Katha, one attains all kinds of auspicious results in life. Śrīmad Atatam. The Shri, the fame of that person who sings Harikatha, spreads throughout the entire world. Bhurida. The greatest benefactors in this world are those who distribute Krishna Katha. Such benefactors sing Shri Krishna's glories and thereby uplift the whole world. Even if a king gives away his entire kingdom, or a wealthy man gives his entire wealth and opulence, it does not qualify them as a Bhurida. The greatest benefactors are those who describe Shri Krishna's sweet pastimes to others, no one else. The second meaning of the verse Tava Katamritam. Tava Katamritam. In separation from you, your katha is not a life-giving nectar. It is mrita, it is deadly poison. The reason for this is that when, in separation from you, we hear of your pastimes, the fire of separation intensifies even more, and we writhe in agony, being scorched by its burning flames. Tapta Jivanam. Gopis like Srimati Radhika say, we are the proof of this. Before, we were perfectly happy in our family life, but the moment we fell in love with this Sri Krishna, all these problems began. Now we are completely helpless. He has turned us into street beggars, and we have no place to take shelter and are now on the verge of death. If anyone wants to remain happy in family life, then he should never even hear Krishna's pastimes, which causes distress. Kavibir iditam. Poets have the capacity to praise a horse made of paper with such words as, "This horse is strong and robust, and is able to remove more swiftly than the wind or the mines." But their words are of no value. They also make statements like, by hearing narrations of Sri Hari, all kinds of good fortune will arise. This is simply not true. Sri Krishna has cheated us, and his narrations have also cheated us. We could not care less for these narrations, and we want to warn every person who has an attraction for Krishna Katha to not hear it. Any lady who hears these narrations will forget her husband and children, and will end up like a bird without a nest. She will always lament and will cause her friends to weep as well. Those who want to happily remain with their relatives should not hear descriptions of that black Krishna. If by chance they do hear them, they will certainly cut off all familial relationships and become mad, always calling out, "Krishna, Krishna, Krishna." They will aimlessly wander here and there, just like us. Singing in praise of Krishna is poison. There is no doubt of this. Anyone who does not want to become mad like this should not hear narrations of Sri Krishna. Moreover, they should never hear from the mouth of cheaters who come with the scripture under their arm to allure people, saying, "Come to me, I have come to tell you sweet narrations of Sri Hari. You do not need to be concerned about paying a fee. I will speak this Hari Katha free of charge. Simply hear it." While these duplicitous kavis speak Hari Katha in a voice as beautiful as a parrot's, the listener becomes charmed and fully immersed in that Katha. He then gives up his household, family, and everything, and becomes a street beggar. The speaker of such Katha can be compared with a cruel hunter, who attracts a deer with the sweet sound of his flute, only to slaughter it once it comes near. These trickster narrators are indeed Buddhita Jana, the destroyers or killers of those who hear them. Remain wary of them. But what can we do? Sri Radha and her Sakis continue. We can never give up listening to Sri Krishna's Lila Katha and thinking about it. In this way, even though Sri Radha and her Sakis want to forget Sri Krishna, because they are overwhelmed with Krishna Prem, they are unable to do so for even a single moment. 1 second. A feeling can be expressed in two ways, directly or indirectly. However, the purpose of those who express such a feeling is the same. Here we have given both kinds of explanations of the aforementioned shloka, the direct and the indirect. The deep intention of both is to state that we should always listen to discussions of Sri Krishna's pastimes. The result will be that all material attachments are very easily cut. We still have 25 minutes to read. I wonder, maybe we can read, there's a beautiful description of Mahaprabhu's dance by Srila Trivikram Goswami Mahārāja. Because this chapter is way too long. It's super long. So let me see if I can find it. Dandavat pranams Rukmini Didi. I think Manjari, I'd have to go with Swarup Damodar as well. But Vikeshwar Pandit's does sound pretty amazing. He is like the dancer, right? Of all of Mahaprabhu's associates. Okay. But, to see Nityananda Prabhu dancing and Swarup Damodar singing, that's just... Okay, let's see. I can't remember which article it is, though. Let's see. Which magazine. Sorry, this is just going to take me a second. Not in that one. I don't think it's in that one. No. No, it's not in this one. Would it be in this one? This is it. Found it. It is Rays of the Harmonious, Kartik 2006. Number 16, with Mother Yashoda and Krishna on the cover. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Part 2. Okay. So... let's go. There it is. Okay, so this is the speciality of Srimad Mahaprabhu's dance at Ratha-yātrā. So this is excerpts from a lecture given by Śrī Bhaktivedānta Gosvāmī Mahārāja on 17 July 1988 at Śrī Udharan Gaudiya Math, Chunchura. Sajiyat Krishna Chaitanya Saratakre Nanartaya Yena Śrī Jagatam Chitram Jagannātha Vismita. All glories to Śrī Krishna Chaitanya, who danced in front of the chariot of Śrī Jagannātha. Seeing him dance, not only was the whole world astonished, but Lord Jagannath himself became amazed. Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 13.1. Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dance in front of Lord Jagannath's chariot was so ecstatic it astonished all who saw it. What was the nature of that dance? This is described in Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 13. Our attempt to fathom the essential quality of his dance is based on our experience of worldly dances: Indian dance, Manipuri dance, South Indian dance, Russian ballet, and so forth. These dances are astonishing to behold. The dancers' movements are so swift and dexterous that they appear to have no bones. They can manipulate their bodies as they please. Mahaprabhu's dance excelled these dances by far, and the mood of his dance astonished the entire world. We imagine his dance to resemble these worldly dances, but the subject of it bears no such similarity. Also, the dancing of females is generally considered more attractive than that of males. But Mahaprabhu is male. What was the amazing feature of his dance? What was the subject of his dance? Most people think that Mahaprabhu's devotees exaggerate and overly praise the extraordinary nature of his dance. Srila Kaviraj Goswami describes how Mahaprabhu's dance around Lord Jagannath's chariot resembled a single firebrand that is rotated so swiftly that it appears to be a circle of fire. Mahaprabhu moved with such speed that he appeared to be simultaneously present at every point of his circumambulation. Such a sight is certainly astonishing, but our amazement should not stop there. What bhav was manifesting in Srimad Mahaprabhu at a given moment? And what internal transformations was he undergoing as a result? This was the foundation of his dance. Ordinary conditioned souls have a superficial conception of his moods. Only when we become bhavuk, that is, when we deeply understand these moods, will we be able to understand his internal moods and how they stimulated his dance. We perceive his dance to resemble people's joyful dancing at a festival. We may even think it is like the dancing of boys and girls in modern times, the sight of which pollutes the mind and stimulates lusty desires. Śrīmad Mahaprabhu's dance at Ratha-yātrā is not to be compared to the dancing of persons in this material world, because the subject of his dance is not lust, but transcendental love. Lust and love. In this world, everything is composed of lust. What is lust? Atmendriya priti vancha tare bolikam, Krishnendriya priti icha dhore premanam. The desire to gratify one's own senses is called kam, lust. But the desire to satisfy the senses of Śrī Krishna is known as prem, transcendental love. Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 4:165. Shastra thus reveals the true conceptions of lust and love. Any endeavor conditioned souls like us make to indulge the senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, is lust. We think that we will be happy by seeing beautiful objects, smelling fragrant scents, tasting delicious foodstuffs, or hearing pleasant sounds, such as a piano, or especially a lady's sweet voice. All of our activities aim to satisfy our senses, and we consider it good for us, but it is merely lust. In this world, we speak of marital love. We speak of marital love, or brotherly love. But neither is true love, because the sole purpose of such love is to satiate our own senses. Why does a husband love his wife? Because through her he can gratify his senses. In the same way, a wife satisfies her senses through her husband. Their mutual act of sense gratification cannot be called a love. Atmendriya priti vancha tare bolikam. It is all lust. Patriotism is also lust. Why do we love our country? We think, I was born in this country, and its trees, environment, rivers, mountains, and so forth delight my mind and body. Our love is based on our own pleasure. We love everything that delights our senses and gives pleasure to our mind. What then is love? What is the love between Bhagavan and the gopis, or between other devotees and their beloved Lord? Krishnendriya pritik icha dhore premanam. The desire to give pleasure to Krishna's senses is called love. Acts of sacrifice and brotherly or marital love are not meant for the Lord's pleasure, and are therefore classified as lust. Only acts for the Lord's pleasure can really be called love. Faultless lust. We see that the behavior of Krishna and the gopis resembles the behavior of men and women in this world. Krishna became happy by enjoying the gopis through his senses, and the gopis' senses were also gratified. So how is it love? Atmendriya priti vancha tare bolikam. Why isn't it called lust? The gopis are never motivated by a desire to enjoy their own senses. Their only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna's senses. Now, you may argue that since Krishna enjoyed with them, isn't it lust? But the fact is that Krishna is such an entity that his lust is love. Our lust is certainly not. Krishna's lust is faultless. The type of auspiciousness he can bestow upon one whose service he has enjoyed is incomparable. We cannot bestow that kind of favor upon anyone we enjoy. What kind of auspiciousness can a husband bestow upon his wife by enjoying her? But what can Krishna not do for one who has slightest? I'm starting to get tired. But what can Krishna not do for one whose slightest service he has accepted? Putana, for example, applied poison to her breast and went out to kill him. She shrewdly displayed maternal affection, saying, "Oh, Baba, oh my darling boy, come, have some breast milk." Although her affection was full of duplicity, Krishna reciprocated and gave her the poison of a mother in Vaikuntha. He reciprocated her and gave her the position of a mother in Vaikuntha. Is this possible for us? Any of us? We can't liberate even ourselves from this material world. What to speak of liberating someone else from it and granting them the happiness of service in Vaikuntha? If Krishna can liberate a deceitful person like Putana from this material world and instate her as a mother in Vaikuntha, what will he not give to his dearest beloveds? They truly serve him with senses that give him more pleasure than the pleasure he receives from being fed breast milk. What will they not achieve? Unmotivated service yields the highest reward. It is for this reason that Krishna said to the gopis, "I will never be able to repay my debts to you." The gopis' desire to please Krishna was unconditional. They did not want repayment. Furthermore, he was unable to give any. In Śrīmad Bhagavatam 4:11, he promised, "Ye yata mang prapadyante tang sataiva bhajamyaham." O Partha, in whichever way a person renders service to me, I in turn serve him in that very same way. Krishna says, "I always repay those who serve me. I never live in debt." But to the gopis he said, "Na parayeham niravadya." I'll never be able to repay you. I always remain indebted to you. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:32-22. Why did Krishna say this? Since you always desire my happiness without a trace of desire for your own, what could I possibly give you that would make you happy? The gopis replied, "Our pleasure will come from your happiness." Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila 20:52. That quotes Srimati Radhika saying, "Nagani apana dukas sabe vanchi tarasuk tarasuka amara tatparya." I do not consider my personal distress. I only desire to make Krishna joyful. Indeed, giving him delight is the very purpose of my life. The gopis know nothing other than desiring Krishna's happiness. This is the purpose of their every action. They even dress with Krishna's pleasure in mind. We feel pleased when we dress and decorate ourselves nicely. The gopis also like to look attractive. They don necklaces and other beautiful ornaments, decorate their hairs, and apply makeup. It may seem that their happiness is derived from beautifying themselves, but this is not the case. The gopis know that upon seeing them, Krishna will feel happy at heart, and for that reason alone, they adorn themselves. They do not aspire for their own pleasure. The little they eat is simply to maintain their charm for Krishna's pleasure. Their entire range of activities is solely to give pleasure to Śrī Krishna. This full dedication to his pleasure is the nature of his devotees. Externally, there may be some similarities between the activities of a devotee and those of a non-devotee, but internally, they are at opposite poles. Devotees do not desire their own sense gratification. Everything they do is for Krishna's happiness. That is why Shastra states that harming a devotee warrants an unlimited